Rishi Sunak's Conservatives understand the challenges that families face, and we've set out 5 key priorities to provide help and relief now and put in place the long-term solutions to build a better future for our children and grandchildren. 1. Halve inflation this year to ease the pressure on families and businesses. 2. Grow the economy, creating better paid jobs right across the country. 3. Reduce debt, securing a brighter future for public services like our NHS and police. 4. Cut NHS waiting lists by tackling the COVID backlog. And 5. Stop the boats.
Well, hang on to your seats for some actual facts.
1. Halve inflation this year to ease the pressure on families and businesses.
The Conservative government has given us the highest inflation in 40 years. In fact, latest figures show that inflation in the UK is the highest in the G7 by some margin. And on that, here's an update from the Chancellor himself.
Coffee is getting more expensive. A year ago it would have been around £2.50, but now it's gone up to nearly £3 a cup. And the price of the weekly shop, if you look at food prices, has gone up by about 16%. And for the poorest families, the things they typically buy have gone up by even more. The Bank of England's inflation target is 2%, but currently inflation is about 10%. That means more expensive food, fuel, it means unemployment going up, businesses failing. A pound in your pocket is worth less than it used to be.
Well, that's some achievement.
2. Grow the economy.
Seriously?
The International Monetary Fund says the UK economy's performance in 2023 will be the worst among the 20 biggest economies known as the G20, which includes sanctions-hit Russia.
The simple fact of the matter is 13 years of Conservative government has left us with the highest inflation in 40 years, the highest taxation since the Second World War, the biggest drop in living standards since records began, and average wages falling at their fastest rate for more than 2 decades. And guess who was running the economy for 3 of those years?
You were Chancellor until a few weeks ago. UK growth is set to be the worst in the G20 besides Russia. Another study says we will go from 18th to 31st out of 38 OECD countries. Members here see their pound shrinking, probably as fast as they see their high streets closing.
And I'll point this out every single day if I have to. All that comes on top of more than a decade of soaring food banks, poverty, homelessness, falling life expectancy and wage stagnation under successive Conservative governments.
3. Reduce debt.
Under the Conservative government, UK debt has risen to its highest level in almost 60 years.
4. Cut NHS waiting lists.
Under this government, a record 7.2 million people are now waiting for hospital treatment. And thanks to the Health Secretary's refusal to negotiate with junior doctors, wanting to restrict them to a derisory 2% with inflation running in excess of 10%, tens of thousands of junior doctors in England have just taken part in an unprecedented 4 days of strike action, which saw an estimated 350,000 appointments and operations cancelled.
And 5. Stop the boats.
Well, let's see how that's going.
The number of individuals crossing in small boats has risen sharply from 299 in 2018 to over 45,000 in 2022. By now, even Larry the Cat knows the huge rise in the numbers of dangerous small boat crossings is in large part a direct consequence of the Brexit deal championed by the Prime Minister himself. A recent study by Durham University found the primary factor in the skyrocketing number of small boat crossings is Boris Johnson's oven-ready Brexit deal. According to the report, it was the government's decision to leave the EU without a returns agreement in place, which has led to the skyrocketing number of dangerous small boat crossings. Even UK news channels have now caught on.
It's very hard to send people back to safe third countries if you don't have any agreements to do so. Now, once upon a time, when we were in the EU, we had operated under something called the Dublin regulations, which allowed us to send asylum seekers back, in theory, to the place where they had first arrived and claimed asylum. Those fell away upon Brexit, and we haven't really replaced them. We have half a dozen or so agreements in place.
This problem has in large part been created by the government itself, and now the Prime Minister wants to use it to trample people on human rights with his illegal migration bill.
So we believe that our bill is compliant with the ECHR.
Sunak's illegal migration bill is a flagrant breach of the government's obligations under both the Refugee Convention and the European Convention on Human Rights. It says as much on the front page of the bill.
The bill, very unusually, on the cover, says the Home Secretary is unable to make a statement that the provisions of the illegal migration bill are compatible with the Convention rights.
And there's more.
In a letter to Tory MPs, the Home Secretary conveys the legal advice that there is a more than 50% chance the provisions may not be in line with the Convention.
Sunak's bill effectively allows the government to commit human rights abuses without consequences. Remember, human rights are universal. It's not up to this government to pick and choose who does and doesn't deserve them.